Why don't you go live?
Anthony, 800 shows. I can't believe we've made it this far.
800 hours, more than 800 hours of you and I speaking. That, my friend, when we take our last breath, is the gift to the world. Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome to No Vacancy Live.
Sorry, it's producer Suzanne gave me a direction to put up the graphic, but my mouse isn't working, and I tried to do it, and it didn't work so well. There we go. Thank you, Suzanne. 800 episodes.
That's a beautiful graphic. Keep that up there. Let's look over it. That's a great graphic.
Yeah.
Put it up.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. Congratulations, Anthony.
Congratulations to you. 800 episodes of us speaking. That has got to be some kind of record of annoying people.
As a matter of, it's funny you should say that, because I just heard from the Guinness Book of World Records people. They said, please just stop. Just don't do anymore.
I think we should do most of the show until we get our guest on with that graphic. That is a great graphic.
I like it. Also, we're always concerned about how we look over here, so it helps alleviate that problem.
So it started in a very dark place with wearing sweatshirts and not knowing what was going on, and the industry at its knees for the first time in its history, to now when the industry is thriving, still a lot of challenges and concerns, but thriving, and we have made more connections and learned more. I am an encyclopedia of the industry simply because of this show.
That is an awesome opportunity that we have to learn from the most important people in hospitality every day. Now, Suzanne, I know you gave me a list, but I can't access my phone of some of the great guests that we've had right now. But what I do want to say is it's our 800th episode. But today I am coming from you from the first ever Spark by Hilton, their new premium economy brand that they have over there. So I'm issuing a challenge to the people at Hilton to see when they could surpass the amount of episodes we have of No Vacancy shows with properties in the Spark family. So we'll see how long that takes.
Well, you know what? They will probably be done by the end of the day with 900.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so before we bring in our fabulous guest and a family friend of our show, what would you, and one of the greatest minds in our industry, what would you say? Yeah, and don't say I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to take you to it. What did you learn in the 800 episodes? What's the one thing, the common thread that you learned?
Showing up, like you always say, consistency, and do what you say you're going to do. I think those are three of the major rules that I've learned. What about you?
I would say, if you think back at every guest that we've had, their curiosity, enthusiasm for life is infectious generally. I would say almost the vast majority, have a curiosity of spirit that you don't normally see. And they just happen to be in the hotel business. So I'm not going to say, because they're in the hotel business, they're curious. They're just curious people that find their way into the hotel business. And I think so. If you had one trait that should be, in your DNA in the industry, it should be curiosity. And it seems like everybody brings that thread right through, all 800.
That's a great one too. And speaking of some of the great guests we've had guests from everywhere. We've had things like Dawn Burrell, who's an Olympian and a celebrity chef. We had the first Air Force pilot of Ghana on the show. We've had amazing people like Jan Freitag, Mark Summers, Roger Dow, the incredible Chip Rogers, Tia Graham, Greg Henderson, Mike Schindler, who's on tomorrow, Dan McCoy, Chief Innovation Officer at TSA.
And just that guy that started Ritz-Carlton.
We've had on. Who else have we had? Who else have we had on? We've had on so many. It's like so many great guests. I can't even get to it right now. But one guest who I've loved, Anthony, which is why we have him come back time and time again. And the last time we met him to have him come on to talk about next chapters in careers, but we got all bogged down in hotel-y stuff. So we brought him back today. A friend of the show, Mike Stengel. How are you, sir?
How you doing? Well, congratulations. 800. That's a lot of hours together. You spend that much time with your families.
I know.
Please don't remind me. When I come home from the road, I don't have those tags they put on your bag. I throw them out. I throw out the hotel keys because I don't want to remember all that time I spent away from my family. Please don't remind me how much time I spent with them.
Well, congratulations. Did you invent the podcast? Was 800 podcasts? That's a long time.
I know it is.
I will say, I'm going to say it so Glenn doesn't have to, and then Glenn can back me up. You go all the way back to Joe Rogan. When Joe Rogan started, he was like maybe the first 100, top 100. There's only 100 podcasts going on back then. I would say that Glenn was before Joe Rogan.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 12 years now.
Pioneers, absolutely terrific.
Yeah. Before we started No Vacancy, I did 100 episodes of a podcast for a company I used to work for.
No kidding.
How crazy is that?
Congratulations. Well, it's fun to be back. Nice to see you both.
And one good news is one day he'll get good at this.
One day. I'm Mike. I'm pretty sure it's not today, but maybe tomorrow. So I'm sorry that you're going to have to suffer with my subpar work that I've been doing for 800 shows over here. Now, what I want everyone to know is we got a great video, a great update of where we are at the Gaylord Pacific Resort that Mike is intimately involved with out in San Diego. But we're going to save that for a little bit so we don't get caught up in that conversation just yet. Mike, we promised you when the last time you were to come on, we talk about next chapters. And one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people, when they leave that big brand job, they got to figure out what's next. Some people do it seamlessly, it seems like you, while others really struggle to figure what their footing is going to be for that next chapter. What has that experience been like for you, building a new career from scratch?
Well, at first, it's a brave step to think about. Okay, it's time. You have to know when it's time to retire. I spent 40 great years with Marriott. Loved the people, loved my boss, loved everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But it was time. I always felt like sometimes if you're in a job too long, you start to get a little bit more complacent. You're not pushing the envelope every day. And I was GM at the New York Marquis for 15 years, and that place, you need to be there 15 years, but you got to push the envelope every day. But I felt it was time to move on into the next role, so someone else had a chance. And I thought it was time for me to move on. I retired right before the pandemic, and David Merritt asked me to stay that whole year and help with all the things that went on, which was probably one of the not so good years of the business to have to lay people off and do the crazy things that we had to do. But my transition, I retired. I think I was a week retired before I started my own LLC. And I think the thing you miss the most is, working with the people every day, the camaraderie, the team that you built, the interactions between those folks, the traveling. I love the travel. I traveled 5 days a week to, all the convention network hotels in the company. And so I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed listening and learning. And so I get a little bit of it now because I'm still involved with the Gaylord and the Pacific. So I do see half my team comes to those meetings, and I'm on the other side of the fence working with the ownership group, which is Rita, and they've done a terrific job of partnering with Marriott. So, but I think that's the biggest thing. You really miss that day-to-day camaraderie and fun you have with your team, building a brand.
It's interesting you said that you're kind of building a bridge between ownership and Marriott, and you're doing a great job. So you're still in the role that you kind of, not the role, but kind of what you know best, right? And then there are people that go retire and then try a whole different thing, whether it be getting into guitar or art. They want to be an artist and sell their drawings, whatever. Why not get away from what you've done for 40 years and go fulfill some other creative avenue? Yeah. Was it just as you retired, you're like, nope, I'm going right back, but in a different way?
You know what you know best, and you're like a loaf of bread. You wait too long, you go stale. And so what what I am involved in is I'm on board of directors of Mama Mancini's Meatballs. And that was totally left field for me. I had done a lot of business with ShopRite in New Jersey and get very close with the CEO. He convinced me to go on the board of this public company. It's been a great learning experience. I didn't know anything about the retail side of the business, didn't know anything about placement in stores, didn't know anything about, how to get into, the Walmarts of the world and the Publix and the ShopRites of the world and where you position on shelves. And so it's been a tremendous learning experience. I've had a lot of fun doing that. Since I've been on the board, we bought 3 other companies and then just changed the name. It's now Mama's Creations, because we don't want to just do Italian food. We want to expand in other areas. So that was a really great time and a lot of fun. I've been doing that for the last couple of years.
It's interesting. If you want to see how hard a business is going to retail business, because it makes the hotel business look easy.
Gosh.
I was in the retail business when I ran a bread company called Eche Panes, and getting it into King supermarkets and all the supermarkets in the region, and shelf space and how that works. And oh my God, it is very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, what one snap of the finger from one company, you could lose $500,000 of business in one day.
Literally, you don't have to move it to the bottom shelf. You just have to move it like in a different location on the same shelf, and all of a sudden you're like, why is everybody passing it? Because when somebody comes in the aisle, that first product on the shelf, even if it's in the middle of the shelf, they already passed it because their first 2 steps, they're past the aisle. So I learned a lot. And I used to stand there with my biscotti on the side of the King supermarket, and people would literally bite it, say it's the best thing ever, put the bag in their cart, and then come back when they went to the cashier and they came back and gave it back to me and go, $12 for a bag of biscotti, you should be arrested.
Well, I think the most odd thing is there's no contracts, right? You do business with purveyors and you get yourselves on the shelves, and then tomorrow they say they don't want you anymore. And you just produce 1,000 pounds of meatballs for them. So it's a crazy different kind of business, but there's some really great people there. The new CEO is fabulous and came from another food service company. So it's been good. It's been really good. So
I would like to just say, the next time you talk to the ShopRite people, tell them thank you for carrying the Hebrew National beef salamis.
Okay.
Reminds me of my childhood. Yeah.
So the Vienna little sausages, I like those. But but and I know we're going to talk about kind of the hotel business and what you're doing now, but like I just talked about, the 800 guests have in common is curiosity, and you're still learning. I can see it in your eyes and where you speak about the business you're on now, that you're still curious. Where's that curiosity come from?
Well, you know what? I spent a tremendous amount of time in operations, but I even though I never worked in sales, I consider myself a real sales expert. I think you can't be successful in these big jobs and companies without really understanding the sales and revenue piece. So my curiosity comes in finding better ways to one of the things that sticks out in hotels is it's great to be an operator, but what people don't spend enough time on is revenue, finding different ways. I used to tell people, you got to walk around the building and you got to find a space in the building that's being underutilized and reutilize it and repurpose it. And if you don't do that on a regular basis, you're not really doing the owner any favors. If you go to the owner with 100 ideas and say that, hey, here's a way to raise revenue, here's a way to raise revenue, and here's, continuing. I think that's one of the things that I really want to continue to learn is I go out and I look at new restaurants all the time. I look at new hotels all the time. I want to see what they're doing that's better than everybody else, and how do you make that? How do you monetize those ideas, and how do you make that top line? Because this business is all about, if you can't get that top line up, you're never going to get the margins or the profitability that you want.
I always say it's not an expense-driven business, it's a revenue-driving business. But like if you look at a hotel, and I won't mention the hotel, but there's plenty of them, one of them intimately, where if you go to a convention and there happens to be benches in the lobby or on the second floor, and people are going to sit there during the convention and do business, you're going to pay for that bench. Whereas back in the day, 20 years ago, that wasn't commonplace. Now you can't find a space in a conference area in a hotel that you're not paying for if you're sitting there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like there's I won't mention the name of the resort, which drives me a little bit crazy because there's so many opportunities for revenue that they went out and built this unbelievable fire pit and all these seats around it, but there's no bar. There's no way to get a drink. You got to go inside the hotel, get a drink, and bring it out. It's like,
oh, it's crazy.
You missed the opportunity, or you built this beautiful place, a pavilion at one of your locations, and you didn't put a kitchen in. So it's just little things like that make a huge difference. And so I find that a lot of people build with their hearts, not really using the expertise that's out there to really take a look at what you have and how do you make it better. And they just stand out like a sore thumb to me, and it drives me crazy. I spend a lot of time looking at those things.
Yeah. So what is the most exciting thing to you about being out there and trying to do something new outside what you are traditionally doing every single day of your life?
Well, besides, I get to golf at least once or twice a week now. and Bill Merritt told me once, if you work in the resort business and you have under a 10 handicap, you got to go to another hotel. So he never had that problem with me. It's funny that you after you finish, you want to get all the golf and you can, but I'm spending more time of making my own schedule and picking and choosing. I have 5 guys that started LLCs that are retired from Marriott, all specialty guys. And when I get an inquiry for a piece of business for me, I really evaluate it and said, for example, I had this great inquiry for a piece of business for an outdoor catering space separate from a hotel in Detroit. And I said, man, the best guy for you for this job is Joe Koza. And so I turned that over to Joe. But I think that, knowing what you want to do and take on, I think is most important to me. And then, there's new things like getting more into development, getting more into project management from the other side of the fence instead of the management side. So those are all great learning experiences for me, but totally outside my regular box.
In the new project you're working on, are you implementing any technology that you didn't even think about at the beginning of the project because technology changes so much?
Well, hotels are slow to adopt the technology, as you well know. And
I was just at a hotel last week. They're excited. They just put in a fax machine. They're really that's going to go places.
Yeah. So I think in the hotel side, Anthony, I don't see a lot of that happening quickly. I mean, I have seen robots experimented with, and I saw a design for a robot that delivers room service.
How about self-check-in? Is that becoming commonplace?
Self check-in is it. Every hotel has tried to do it. I mean, look at mobile check-in. Marriott has mobile check-in all over the world. And other hotels do it too, but I can't figure out why I never get the key before I check in. So it's not. The customers are not quick to adapt to technology in the hotel business. And hotels are not quick to spend in the technology side. A customer believes that I'd have a better chance of getting up to the desk, smiling, being nice to the person, and think I'm going to get a better room than I do on that check-in machine over there in the corner. Right. So,
Mike, I tell myself that all the time, but then I realize I'm not as charming as I think I am. So I go to the machine.
You know what? That is not true. You are as charming as I think you are.
Thank you. But Mike, at places like Gaylord in particular, because they're so large and have so many rooms, and I think the same with Las Vegas convention hotels, that's a great opportunity to have that self-check-in kiosk there, because I think it's a situation where it makes the customer experience better when you don't have to wait on that super long line, where sometimes other hotels you might want to have that personal.
Yeah, mobile check-in in those big box hotels, mobile check-in works better than those kiosks. And if you can encourage groups to tell their group to download the app and make sure you mobile check in. It makes it a lot more. It makes it a lot better for everybody. I think the other thing is wayfinding is another technology that we've experimented with, and we keep getting better at it. Is, you go in these big hotels, drop you in the middle of the Venetian and tell you go to the Columbus room. You could be looking for hours, but having wayfinding on your phone really leads you in the direction. And
Right.
we experimented with a lot of wayfinding.
Right.
Go to Gaylord Opryland and try to find your way to your room. It's not easy.
Right.
Glenn,
It's one of the most complicated hotels I've ever been to. What, Anthony?
text you have from me when I'm in a convention. Where are you? I can't find it. What room? I can't find
Oh,
it.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I got a story just on that. Wayfinding on phone would be great. Not that the people helping aren't super helpful, but I was at Baja Mar last week, which is massive resort, right? For those of you who haven't been there, I think like 2 or 3 mega casino resorts, put them all together. It's that kind of a big place. So one of the people there said he had to go to a meeting. He's like, hey, where's the Rose Island? And the guy's like, you have to go all the way to the end of the dock and da-da-da-da-da. So he goes all the way to the end of the dock, and at that point realizes, oh, this is the boat to Rose Island, not the Rose Island room in the hotel. So he wound up unfortunately missing his meeting because they were so helpful and sent him somewhere. So maybe in that case, computer would have helped a little bit more,
Yeah, I think that people moving, wayfinding, and one cool thing about some of this wayfinding is you can work directly with a group that has maybe a trade show, and you can measure the amount of people that are walking down certain aisles, so you can charge more money for certain aisles. Like this aisle is going to be the most popular. You can get more revenue out of that aisle, and then you can calculate how many people walking down there. The other piece of it is that you can have people on the floor selling to the booths by knowing where the traffic is, and you may not have enough food and beverage going on in your booth, and the guy around the corner has got all the traffic, and he's got a lot of food and beverage. So I think there's revenue opportunities. And also, you can steer people with wayfinding on the app by saying, hey, right after your meeting, we have a beer special in this XYZ outlet, and you can steer customers in the way that you want them to experience the resort. Right. So I think that's getting better. It's not where it needs to be yet. And I know I know in Marriott, they've experienced with a lot of different hotels.
Mike, interestingly enough, you mentioned that if you take a look at what the Disney company is doing with the Disney Plus, the Disney Genie app that they have, what they want you to do is they give you like a touring plan on there. So theoretically, what they're doing, or the rumor is that they're trying to drive crowds to places that have less people so they can spread out the crowd. Instead of having bunches of people here, they get more people here, and they're more likely to spend money because the lines are less, or go to a ride that's shorter line. So that's an interesting use of that kind of technology that you're talking about.
I think that's a proprietary product for them. But we've tried a couple different companies of Wayfind. I don't think we've landed on the right solution yet, but I think the big boxes are all still working at that. Vegas.
Go ahead, Glenn.
No, you go for it, Anthony.
I was just going to ask a question that you can't answer, because why are we so bad at technology? Why is the hotel industry so in this day and age? We are still, like me and Glenn, we all travel a lot. There's no technology.
Yeah. When I grew up in the business, I thought, we all as kids, Japan was the highest level of technology country in the world, right? And my first visit to Japan, we had a partnership with the New Otani Hotel in Tokyo, and they were using index cards to check people in. And I'm talking about the late 1980s, and I'm saying, oh my God, I came over here to learn something about technology. I went in their catering sales office, and they had files stacked to the ceiling, paper files. So I said, and I thought the Japanese, if anyone, would have a better platform. I thought I'd learn something. What I learned, that they didn't believe in technology because they felt technology took you away from the hospitality side of the business. And I think that carries through the US too, is that, if you're looking at your computer screen or doing something from a text standpoint, you're not paying attention to the customer. And I think that's what got hotels behind the 8 ball, I think.
Yeah, but I think that is a really, really good point, and that's a funny example. And now I think it's the opposite. I think it's now you're annoyed as a traveling
Right.
as a traveler that like this is easy. Like I want a key that works. I want an elevator that stops on the floor I want it to stop at. I don't want to go to 600 floors, and I want a self check-in that works on my phone. And as soon as I get there, I press a button, I get a key. I still want smiling faces and hello, good morning. I still want somebody to answer the phone if I call. I was just somewhere, I can't remember, and I was using an iPad. It may have been the wind, I'm not sure. I was just, and the iPad worked. It worked for the phone. It worked for the light. Like because as soon as I saw the iPad, I was like, I don't want an iPad. I hate iPad. But it worked really well. We want technology now. We want texting. We want technology. But that doesn't mean we don't want to see a smiling face.
But I think I believe you that I'm aggravated too when I have to wait 2 seconds. But I think the differentiator today is you gotta. I don't see the service levels or the discipline and service training that once lived. And I had 2 experiences the last couple of days. I went to a place and the hostess was sitting down at the hostess stand at a chair eating a cinnamon bun. And reading the chart of which table they're going to sit me at. And then last night I had a positive experience where I had a bartender who was working as a waitress and a bartender and answering the phone, took orders, food orders without ever writing anything down. It was unbelievable. I'd go out and pay that kid double to come work for me. But the service industry is really falling short on the training side and the discipline side of service. Nobody really knows service anymore.
Because people are saying, I just need a warm body. And that was true before the pandemic. It's not even, it's just, it is what it is now. And I'm just curious, the cinnamon bun eating hostess, was it a nice hotel? Or was it like a Denny's?
No, it's I can't say where it is, but it's at least a 4-star resort.
Wow. Well, yeah.
And
All right. So first of all, I'd like to
restaurant.
say I think Denny's is a quality eating establishment, so we don't want to get any hate mail on that. Shoot, I was gonna say something about that. I got a thought. When it comes to the training and stuff like that, the digital natives are of course people that grew up in the post-internet era and have grown up with technology in our lives. And we hear a lot of anecdotal evidence about younger people not being as social, not having those interpersonal skills and stuff. Do you think that is maybe a root cause of why we're starting to see a lack of service? Because these people aren't necessarily as sociable because they've been behind TV screens.
Yeah, I think that it's that somewhat, but I also think it's companies that have reprioritized their cost and they're carving out the luxuries of having professional training companies come in and help train their managers and help train their employees. And I think that's really lacking. I think, I've had a couple country clubs in Florida that I've talked with and done some consulting with. And, the first thing I tell them is that, have you ever trained these waiters and waitresses how to say please and thank you and welcome to the restaurant and can I take your order, or we got a great dessert today and all. I mean, have you ever? No, we haven't done any of that. We just keep hiring people and they keep turning them over, and the customers are mean to them. Said, well, if you had service training, they'd feel a lot more confident about producing the product that you're looking for, and the end result is less turnover. And I think I don't think companies are investing in the people that they're hiring enough to keep them. That's a big problem.
I've been in this industry since 1986, and I will tell you, I've run into, I'm going to say on one hand, 5 mean customers. Okay, I don't run into mean customers. Yeah. I run into customers who are a little aggravated about a situation that immediately get turned around. When you have, to your point, when you have people that are understanding what the goal is and they're service trained, you don't have pissed off guests. Yeah. You have pissed off guests because you have, it's like the Jets keep putting a bad quarterback in, and then you look what you keep getting, right? Except, not our fault. Not our fault that some old people have ankle problems. But you can't throw people in there and say customers are mean. Listen, I'm a mean customer, not really, but I can get mean, I guess, if you're really like doing a bad job.
Yeah.
One of the things, this is the simplest thing. Man, I don't mean to digress, but what's the simplest thing in the world? The simplest thing is when you have a steak and you have a French toast, and you come to the table, who gets what, right? We're auctioning off. Who's this?
Oh, the auction, yeah.
It's like there's no simpler training than telling the waiter or waitress to please write down, seat number 1 gets the steak, seat number 2. And then when the server comes back or the runner comes back, just put the food in front of me. That in itself gives you a bigger tip from me.
Yeah. I mean, I regress back to the waitress I had last night, but the place is called Elliott's. It's in Pinehurst, North Carolina. And the chef, Mark Elliott's, a great chef. But this girl, I mean, the place was crowded, working the bar, working the tables, but took the time to smile, explained the best things on the menu like she ate every one of them, right? And it's just, I mean, I was so impressed. I'm saying, damn, where is that? That doesn't exist anymore. When I was a waiter, I spent 2 weeks trailing the best waiter in the place before they let me touch a check or a customer, right? Today, It's 10 minutes and you're on the floor. You got an apron and a name tag. You're ready to go. I mean, I think we're missing the opportunity in the service side, but we're also missing the opportunity in the sales side of it because the server's not selling; they're just order takers, and at the same time, you're leaving money on the table. So, what's restaurants doing? They're putting automatic gratuities on the check so they can try to keep people. But the automatic gratuity to me is a disincentive as a customer. So it's a big problem in the industry.
I'm always going to tip more than that automatic tip, but if you put that automatic tip on the check, that's it. I'm done. You just took more money out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. I want to apologize to everyone for my internet seems to be a little bit wonky over here. But Mike, just in case I do crash, I want to make sure that we have a chance to get an update on what's going on right now at the Gaylord Pacific Resort and the construction progress. You got a great video here. But while I'm running the video, maybe you could just talk over a little bit. Sure. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about how you're thinking about meetings differently now that we're in like kind of a post-COVID kind of a universe over there. Sure. So let me share this screen. Boom.
So we have a drone. We have this drone that goes over the property once a week, and that's the San Diego Bay right there. And the hotel's up to about 10 stories now. That's the convention center on the right, that big black roof. And then that's the ballrooms over there on the other, closer to the water. And then the main structure, the hotel structure is right here. Now this open part where you see the cement underneath of the crane, that's the lobby. That's going to be the atrium lobby. It's not built out yet. There's no roof or anything, but it's about 10 stories high. This will go about 21 floors.
Give or take.
I think his internet got stuck.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was me. All right. So it looks absolutely beautiful. I like what he's saying about the multi-story front of the building, because the atrium is really a major feature of all of the Gaylord properties. So the atrium's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The atrium's right in the front here as the drone's going around, and then this is a whole water park in the front here. All kinds of water slides and adult pool and children's pool, and this is going to be an incredible waterfront resort in California that nobody's ever going to build again, and not at this price and not at this magnitude. So this is a very significant hotel, and all around here is going to be development. Looking at a 300-room hotel right behind this hotel. That's a big marina with almost 1,000 boats next door there. So and it's the other shot of the drone showed you San Diego downtown. This is looking the opposite direction, but this hotel will have the most carpeted meeting space than any other Gaylord. So it's significantly larger when it comes to carpeted meeting space. And that's because in the exhibit hall, we've taken out the pillars in two of the three areas of the exhibit hall. So now you can have another gigantic ballroom that you don't have the opportunity to do at some of the other hotels. So we keep learning from each one that has been built and what works best, and continue to make those changes in the building.
But
That's pretty cool, Anthony. Sorry,
I
go for it.
imagine technology in the meeting spaces in the convention halls is paramount today. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these Gaylords build in the technology into the meeting spaces. So as opposed to having to lug it in and lug it out, and some of their biggest customers require major technology, especially for trade shows. So I think that this hotel will open with state-of-the-art technology and a lot of eco-friendly. In the state of California, there's many of that stuff is required, but there's a lot of eco-friendly ideas that are happening here. We're not actually building a laundry in the building. We're gonna have the laundry come from outside the building, where most of these big boxes have their own central laundries, but you just can't. Eco-wise, you can't build one there. So
I thought you were going to say we're going to do the world's largest clothesline and just have 10,000 sheets dry out there.
All the way to Mexico. Right?
Yeah, how are you thinking? How are you thinking about how people want to meet in the future? I know you say technology and state of the art, and I'm sure that there'll be some sort of projection mapping thing in order to make presentations look really cool. But it gets to the nitty gritty. How do you think people want to meet, and how do you think that this new product is going to reflect that, be a little different than what we've done in the past?
Yeah, I think what differentiates these big boxes from convention centers is they're warmer, that you can find each other. People want to be, these in-house convention centers find themselves really, really popular because most hotels are not big enough to host your convention. And then the convention center is too big and you want to be in a place where you could take over the whole place. Well, we're finding is that socializing in those public spaces, this place has 11 or 12 restaurants and bars and lots of activity places to sit down and meet with your group, and 5 lawns outside to spend some time outside. This will have a great outdoor component. But I think, building in the resort components into these resorts changes the meeting meeting attendees mission, because now I bring my family to a meeting I would have never brought my family to before. And my family is out there doing things all day on the property without ever leaving and not interfering with my meeting. So that is a new differentiator in a place like this. And Southern California's got 25 million people. So the leisure component to this hotel will match up really nicely with the group side of it. But groups are wanting to do more leisure things.
Go ahead.
I want to just throw what he was talking about the water park, because I remember a number of years ago, the Gaylord Palms in Orlando started to add some more outdoor water stuff, kind of like a proto water park. And then at Opryland, you built the whole giant thing. And I feel like that probably proved the model. And then everything going forward seems to include something like that now.
Yeah, it's really a great amenity for the hotel, but it really helps sell groups there. Even if you don't even walk in there, it does help sell the group, because I have the option to bring my family. And then it picks up that leisure component, and it makes these places, like who was thinking about going to Grapevine, Texas, or Chula Vista, California? They make them places that you want to find a new destination, something new, exciting, and great activities for you and your entire family. If you don't want anything to do with the leisure part of it, the hotel, the way they're designed is to keep them separate. The whole leisure component of this is 1 floor below the lobby, so you don't even walk through the lobby with your bathing suit. You're underneath, right?
Nice.
So you don't want the meeting attendees crossing paths with leisure people. So the layout of the hotel is very, very important when you think about the design. Is you don't want those two entities crossing paths. Even if it's your own family, you don't want to see your family walking down the hallway dripping wet with their bathing suits on in front of your colleagues, right?
Yeah, I remember when they were Branson, Missouri back in the 80s. It's a long way from that kind of destination. It's very interesting. But one of the things, I think we talked about last time. I was helping develop with Miller Global Nickelodeon a resort out in San Diego near the airport. Are you guys close to the airport?
So we are about 15 miles from San Diego Airport and about 15 miles from Tijuana Airport. Tijuana Airport has an international terminal. You can walk right into the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
they have international flights, and you land and you go right through U.S. Customs, and you come on the U.S. side, or you can come in on the Mexican side. So that a lot of people don't know that because San Diego Airport's very popular, but only has one runway. So there's a lot of regional flights into San Diego, but it's you can go up the turnpike a little bit more to the Orange County or John Wayne Airport. And some people do that, or they'll make a leisure component, work their way down to San Diego. But
the reason I ask is when you're building a complex like this worth $1 trillion, how much is sound from, like, especially close to the airport, and how much is sunlight go into it when you're designing it? Meaning, like, when you're at the water park, how much is it driven on, okay, this is the way we need to design it based on the sun, or this is the way we need to design the shape of the building because of the sound? We had a lot of meetings about sound and stuff.
Yeah, if you take the Gaylord Rockies, for example, that hotel seems to be right next door to the airport. It actually, I think, literally, it may be 6 miles away. But the way that the patterns of that airport run, they go east. They go east and west, and they go north and south, and we are west of the project. So you never hear an airplane. You may see them off in the distance, and the way that the hotel is positioned is the sun comes up on one side through the atrium, goes down on the other side. So those are factors that the design firms and ownership groups take into account when you're building a new hotel. For example, this one in Chula Vista, having that all of the activities in the front of the building for outdoor activities is right across the street from the bay. You got the boats on the left, and then behind is where the business takes place. So it does make a big difference. None of these particular Gaylords are in any flight patterns. It's not like, if you go over to Miami and you're on the Doral golf course, you got to wait to putt because the airplane just buzzed over your head. But that hotel's been there 100 years, right? Before the airport. So I think that we do take that into account, but I think sunlight's really important.
Because when I'm on a golf course, complete silence is very, very important because I want to make sure everybody hears me saying how much I suck.
Yeah.
Shot 102.
Have you ever played Andrews Air Force Base golf course? They got Apache helicopters hovering over you while you're putting.
It wouldn't help me or hurt me. I shot 102 the other day, Mike. That was my best score I think I've ever shot.
Oh, wow. You are working hard.
Pretty impressive there. Mike, before we wrap up today, could you give us a little advice? What is something when you were younger that now you wish you knew then?
If I know now, well, I guess I would have paid closer attention in school.
Yeah,
I would have been a better student. I had to work really, really hard at being a student, but I did work hard enough. And I would tell you that. And then in the hotel business, I think you got to work for somebody who really cares about wanting to develop you. I was lucky enough to work, as a kid. I mean, I worked with, Dennis Berkowitz and Horst Schulze and some of the famous people in the business, and just idolized them. And I worked for people that made you read a book every month. And I think that all of that stuff, you think, well, that's a pain in the ass. But the fact is that you never stop learning. After you get out of school, you're going to a harder school. And so I think I would have been a better student in the earlier days, and not be so stubborn about not taking opportunities outside of your comfort zone, right? Moving people from food and beverage to rooms. You never did that 20, 30 years ago. And I think today that's a good thing for people.
And I think, to your point, those mentorships and those moments, those 30 seconds in the hallway or 5 minutes at lunch, makes not only a huge difference, it's game changing. And nowadays, with everybody working from home, you're not getting that as much. You can only get so much mentorship on the Zoom, and you're not going to be close to power, so you're not going to get your promotion that you think you're. And I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
You want to be in the office. You want to be next to the power. You want to be next to people making decisions. And I think in 10 years, when you take one career field and you take hospitality, and you take a career field that was basically Zooming all day, and you take a hospitality person, that hospitality person is going to be able to run circles around people. I think that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the last 15 years working from home, but I didn't like it at all. But I traveled 5 days a week, and I mean, I felt I needed to be in a hotel. I remember going to my office at the corporate. I had an office in the corporate office. To me, it was like some office building, and nobody talked to each other. Right. It wasn't like being in the hotel business. I couldn't wait to get out of there and get to a hotel where I felt comfortable. I actually moved my office out of the corporate office over to the Gaylord National just so I could hear employees. So to hear what people are doing. So
it's true. Like, listen, I work from home. I've been working from home for 14 years, but I don't work from home because I'm never home.
Yeah. I think there's something really. There's a differentiator when you have the opportunity to learn from other people in the industry that are, hiring people that are smarter than you. If you don't get the opportunity to work with them every day, you'll never learn. Right. So
you learn the why. Somebody said the other day on our podcast, we're taking out the why. We got to teach people the why. Yeah. It's like you just said something in the beginning of the podcast about revenue generation.
Yeah.
And I've been around enough people in the industry to know that, not everybody thinks that way. And the way you were speaking to a person that's really kind of untrained, they're like, okay, yeah, he's worried about revenue, he's worried about his owner. No. It's the way your mind thinks. Just listening to you over this past hour, it's the way your mind thinks. And you can't learn that from somebody on a Zoom. You've got to be in an elevator with him. You got to be in a meeting with him. You got to be at lunch with him. You got to be walking right behind him or right beside him or her to really learn the nuance of their thinking.
Right. And I think when you get into situations like 9/11, blackout in New York, explosion at Opryland. I mean, the things that I went through in my career, those were the biggest learning experiences ever. People showed their colors. They stepped up or stepped down during the biggest tragic times. And you came out of there the hardest days of your life, but you came out of there with 2 years of education. And so I always thought that tragedies and downturns and those things is when you didn't learn when you were just collecting cash and filling the cash registers. You really learned when there was no money coming in and there was tragedy or something happened to the business that changed the world. It was different, real different.
Listen, there was a Marriott at the World Trade Center, right? That came down during the attack. Nobody talks about.
Yeah,
I can't imagine how the company handled that.
We had two managers killed in that hotel, and those guys were tremendous managers and didn't want to leave the building and were most concerned about getting guests out of the building. It was, we learned that cell phones wouldn't work. We learned that radios didn't work. We learned that, we had 2 other hotels in the neighborhood that were going to be out of business for quite a while. And what do we do with the people? And, how do you get the employees to stay positive and get back to work? Look what's going on in Hawaii right now. I know that Marriott has over 300 employees that lost their homes, and Montage has over 80 employees that lost their homes. And what are they doing? Those people are living in the hotels right now. They are the customers of the hotels. And now what they have to figure out is how do you help these folks get back on their feet, get into their homes so you can bring other customers in so they can begin to make money. Hawaii is bits of a real tragedy.
Well, I'm really glad you didn't study in school. That way you didn't become a brain surgeon and you're in our
Awesome.
You're a brain surgeon.
Yeah. Mike, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. You do you want to plug yourself or anything? Or
we froze again.
Do you want to plug yourself at all? Do you got anything you want to
Oh, no,
Or we
I would
wrap
just
up?
say that, hey, there are other experts out there that I'm working with on a bunch of different things. And Balin Paraventiva, I don't know if you know him. He was the hotel manager at Gaylord National. He's filling in GM's roles around the country, and he's got his own LLC. And George McNeil, certified master chef, is doing a lot of work on the kitchen redesigns and food and beverage redesigns. And Steve Heitzner, who was Marriott's chief sales and marketing officer, is in business with his expertise. And Joe Koza being one of the best catering guys in the country. I think these guys are all doing. I've referred a bunch of work to those guys, but I think that what expertise they have is extremely valuable to people that need those kinds of resources. And people don't like asking for resources. You have to pay for them, but the fact is they always pay back when you use them. So I'd say make sure you get out there and use your resources.
Yeah, I want to take a first-time Marriott owner that has no hotel experience and tell them, hire a consultant that knows Marriott, that works for Marriott, so they can help you. I mean, whatever you pay them up front, you're going to make 100 times on the back end.
It's kind of why Rita has hired me, is because I speak the language. I can hold Marriott as accountable. I have all of the inside who I need to talk to about what, and it's been very helpful for Rita. We have probably some of the highest room nights and room rates on the books than any Marriott that ever opened in the country. This hotel will open with the highest level of sales of any hotel that ever opened in Marriott. It's because the homework has been done. We had a first run with the Rockies, and now we're having a great opportunity to capitalize on all that knowledge and bringing it to the table and being able to work. I work extremely closely with John Adams and his team, John took my place, and they really are doing a fabulous job of getting this hotel set up for success. We learned that we brought people in too late in the Rockies, so we're bringing people in earlier to make sure that their departments are hitting the ground running from day one. And I think that those are all learnings from having experience doing it.
Listen, having an advocate is critical, whether it be in healthcare or in the hotel business or any business. You need to advocate for your customer or your owner or yourself. And I couldn't think of a better person to be sitting doing that for the industry. It was a pleasure, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so the internet gods really want me to go catch that ferry home today. So, hey, 800 episodes. Congratulations to us. Be sure you subscribe to us. Follow us online at No Vacancy News, LinkedIn, Facebook, all those kind of good places. And, of course, download our audio version wherever you like to get your shows. Congratulations.
Before you end it, can you please bring Suzanne in?
I can.
Suzanne, thank you for the graphics. Thank you for the list you just gave us. Thank you for 800 episodes. Thank you for being you. We couldn't do it without you. And David, wherever you are, being the greatest show manager in the world, thank you too. We couldn't do it without you guys.
It's a pleasure. We're honored. I think both, I'll speak on behalf of David and I, we are honored to be a part of the team with you all and be able to bring these amazing guests and this awesome content to our viewers. And it's just a fun part to be with all of you and making that happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank all of you out there. We'll be back tomorrow with the incredible Mike, who always gives us a run for our money and tells it like it.
Okay, so what we're going to do
all right,
is we're going to sign off.
Be kind to yourself.
No, you say your
thing. Here. Be kind to you. No,
say it. No, it's an episode. You have to say it.
Everybody, thanks for being here. Remember, you got one life, so blaze on.
Be kind to yourself. Click us off.
I will take care of it.
All right, bye.